Hey guys, it's JP Fluellen. We're here with Success Agents. We're going all in tonight. We're going to be talking about CRMs. We're going to talk about fragmented businesses, and we're going to talk about how we kind of put it all together. So stay tuned, and we're going to have some good content for you this evening. And so here we go. So what we're going to be talking about is basically like being in the real estate business is already tough, and when you got too many moving pieces, it can create issues where you're losing continuity and you're losing like how you're going to follow up with your clients, stuff like that. So what is it that you're going to do? So um, you got there's so many different things out there. You got Zillow, you got CRMs, you got Follow Boss, you got Lion Desk, you got Boomtown, you've got all these CRMs, and then you're just like, it's too much to manage. So we got Chris again, as always, and we're gonna kind of dive in a little bit here with, you know, what. So basically, for a lot of new agents that might be listening, tell us about what's a CRM? What is it?
Yeah, in a nutshell, a CRM. So CRM stands for Customer Relation Management System. Simply put, it's kind of like, well, you'll hear the word a lot, your database. And a CRM in its purest form is your database. So that's where you're going to house all your leads, all your notification, or all your notes. And as they get more advanced, you can get more features from a CRM. But that's where a lot of people get lost. So, I mean, in its basic form, a CRM is like literally your business. That's
Hmm.
your database. That is where everything needs to be so you can just stay organized. Because if you're not going to be organized, then you're kind of kicking yourself in the ass.
So like if you're old school, if you're an old school agent, like you might, what would your CRM be, like an Excel spreadsheet maybe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's not technically a CRM because a CRM is more of like a software. It's more, well, I know like Excel is software, but it's more like a moving part. It can do more than just an Excel spreadsheet, but an Excel spreadsheet is still a heck of a lot better than a pen and paper, right?
True, true. Yep.
So I mean, you still see people who are using pen and paper, and they're like, "Oh, I need to make the change," and they get scared of CRMs. I guess like one thing you could do at that point is just try an Excel spreadsheet, just getting
Right.
used to just being on the computer.
I've seen people where they'll literally like after they have a closing, they take that person and they put it in a file folder, and then every no, seriously, dude, and then they'll just take that file and they'll pull it out and they'll call that person and then they'll put them at the back of the list, and then that's how they work their database. So they don't even have an Excel spreadsheet, dude. They just literally work through the files, and then they just rotate them through as they add more. So it's almost like, you know, but then, but I guess if it's I guess at the end of the day, like if it's a system that you use that works, then use it. But at some point, it's going to become so big that trying to, rotate a won't be as effective, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, right. I mean, people, I hear the saying a lot. It's like the best CRM is the one you use. And like, there's a lot of truth to that, I think, but there's also like it kind of like leaves a bad taste in my mouth because it gives the idea that you can have multiple, just use one. And then you have like all this convoluted information and it's just not in one spot. So then you're talking double entry. And then, as things get so big, kind of like what you were saying with the Excel spreadsheet or like literally a filing cabinet, um, you need a way to like actually just make your life easier. So
Sure.
you don't have to do as much. And CRM is there to help you do that as well. You just kind of have to learn it. I mean, it's really with anything. Like let's say you switch from iPhone to Android, right? I mean, you got to learn the phone to make it work for you. It's kind of like the same thing. It's just people get so scared about it because there's a lot of features and a lot of things CRMs can do, but it's like you got to focus on like the core pieces of it first.
Right. So you get to a point where So kind of like me when I first started buying phones and stuff, I was BlackBerry, right? And then
Hmm.
at some point BlackBerry doesn't work because it's whether the features aren't as robust or they're not updating it as frequently or whatever. So then I went from BlackBerry. I was like, well, you know, so I was like, okay, get rid of BlackBerry. I go to Android. So I worked Android. I had an Android phone system for 7 years, and although it was pretty robust in its use. I just as I was working my real estate business, and I'm going to tell you, if you're in real estate and you're using Android phones, I'm just telling you right now, you probably should reevaluate your situation. Because anything real estate usually goes Apple first.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And unfortunately, I'm going to get some haters out there right now because they're going to be like, no, screw Apple. Apple sucks, whatever. But at the end of the day, like you have one option. If your phone doesn't work, your business doesn't work.
Yep.
Because your phone is your business. Your phone is your life. Their phone is your lifeline. It's your connection between getting a commission and not. And where I came to a place in my business where everything that, CRMs, all this stuff, it's a more fluid ecosystem. So just, if you're going to be in business in real estate, you really need to take a closer look at the, Apple line of products because of the continuity between the phone, the computer, the iPad, and all this stuff, and all of these inventions of things that are coming into the ecosystem of real estate. They go Apple first, and because it is smoother. And I'm not trying to make this a commercial for Apple, but the thing about it is, like, and one of the things that I ran into with Android stuff was that it's so fragmented. The phones, generally speaking, are quite buggy because it's such a open platform. There's so many people's abilities to, the software builds are pretty clunky for the most part. And really what I wanted my Android phone for was I could customize just how I used it or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I would get ghost calls. There were times where I could set my phone on the counter, and then all of a sudden I'd look over and it's dialing some random person from my contact list for no apparent reason. And the thing is, like, realtors are heavy users. I mean, we're talking like, there are days where you're on your phone at 6:30, and you're going till 11:30 at night. And, those systems just can't handle the heavy usage because the ecosystem is so bad.
Dude, I just switched from Android to Apple, and like I've been an Apple hater for like 4 years now. Seriously. And first thing I did when I got my iPhone was I downloaded Follow Up Boss because I was just curious. And like, I mean, what you're saying, it's like more of an ecosystem. Like you can do so much stuff so much easier, and it's just like it's really become like this functional piece of technology that just works better than what I had before. And I think it has to do with what you're saying, like the open sourceness of Android. Like, yeah, it's cool and like kind of flashy, I guess, but like when your phone has to be a reliable tool that works every time, you kind of have to put some of those customizations by the wayside and just get what works.
Right. It's kind of like the idea, like when you need a fork, you need a fork, not a spork, a freaking fork. Like you don't just go and like make a special trip to KFC because you can get a spork there. You know what I mean? Like it's like you just want the thing to freaking work every time. And I know when I grab a fork, I can freaking eat my food. And that's the way I felt about Apple. Because dude, I was an Apple hater for a long time too. I was like, nope, not doing it. That Apple's for old people. That's for people that don't know how to use their phones, because it's always the same. But then when I realized, like, it's like, there's a reason why simplicity matters, there's a reason why, which is a good segue into CRMs where, there's a reason why simplicity works in business is because you got too many tools that aren't the right tool. Like back in the day, like my dad was not very mechanically inclined. I'm just going to tell you right now. You know, he grew up in the hood in Alabama. And he said, you know what, as long as you got 4 things, man, you're golden. You know, and I was like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, a flathead, cross tip, vice grips, and a hammer, and you're golden, dude. And I was like, oh, no, there's 5. And then the adjustable wrench,
Okay.
called it the monkey wrench. But I was like, dude, you got to have the right tools, Dad. Like seriously, like you can't just like whip out the adjustable wrench on everything for sockets and whatnot. Like, dude, you just, so like, but that was his thing. He was like, no, dude. He's like, you can carry those things in one bag. That's all you need. You don't need no toolbox. Just one bag. And and I'm like, that's the wrong tools for most of the work.
Yep.
And it's like, that's the way I feel like with CRMs. Like you got to find the right tools that are the simplest, that get them 99.9% of the work done, as well as that it has the ability to, change with the future. Like, we were just having this discussion about technology today, and I feel like, one of the things about simplicity, though, which can be problematic, is, your ability to still continue up to appeal to the next phase of technology. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, what's smart about like the Apple systems and stuff like that is that they make just enough tweaks to keep it interesting, like.
Sure.
Well,
it's like, I mean, they make refinements. It's not big upgrades. It's small refinements that actually matter and make your life easier. Right. I think that's, key to simplicity. Does it make your life easier? No, then it's not something worth looking at.
Right. So I think, with CRMs too, is like, obviously you want to find the one that works, but you also want to find the one that's updating frequently so that it keeps the bugs out and the frustrations out. So like, as you're using a CRM, you're going to find that there are features that you're like, gosh, I wish I just had that. Well, if you get a lot of, I wish it had that more often, then they're going to make the changes that are appropriate, because if you're just sitting on the thing, I'm like, I just wish it would just, like I wish, because like I wish there was the magical CRM, has texting, has drip campaigns, has reminders you need to follow up with these clients every single day. So like, have you followed up with these 5 clients? There's a CRM out there that reminds you that you need to touch 5 clients every single day. So as they become older, it'll remind you that, okay, you need to talk to these 5 every day. Hey, have you reached out to this person? Have you texted them or called them or emailed them or whatever? And then it just learns as you use it. So the more you use it, the more it says, oh, well, JP likes to text. Okay, well, then we're not going to remind him to email as often. We'll just have him text more often. So that it, and so then you continue to do more texting, and then it'll say, oh, well, you haven't touched base with this person in 6 months. Okay, well, then you probably should reach out to them. And it, and then it saves your closings. Okay, you close this house on this day. You go in your CRM, you update the days you've had closings, and then it reminds you, you closed this person a year ago. You probably should send them a card or whatever. Not a credit card.
Send them your credit card.
Send them your credit card. Have it go, shoot, you're successful. You just buy him a house or another house or car or whatever, or new wheels for their BMW or something, like whatever, like, but, or send them a gift or a handwritten note or something where it's just constantly learning and creating a, like in the Keller Williams world, they have a 33 touch system where you touch your clients 33 times every year. Not physically touch, you can get in trouble for that. Sure. But like, reach out to them so that you're always engaging with your clients. So that it creates another you in your CRM,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, like what you're saying. I mean, so you kind of like mentioned like, it'll come to a point where you're like, man, I wish my CRM had this feature, and I wish my CRM had this feature. And like, I feel like that's actually inevitable unless you plan on one thing, and that's flexibility. If you have something that's actually flexible and can handle the changes, because I mean, like, let's face it, like technology changes like crazy. Um, Before Instagram came out with video, there was this little company called Vine, and everyone thought Vine was going to be huge, but then Instagram changed, Vine dropped dead. And if you focus only on Vine, well, then you're kind of screwed because you don't have that anymore. So I guess like the whole point being that like you need to be adaptable and flexible, and you need to be able to account for that in a system as well, to just be able to change it and mold it to how you want your business to work for you,
Mm-hmm.
and really highlight, it's like, I mean, a CRM is a huge piece of your business. Well, it can be or it cannot be depending on how you do it. But like you literally have to like sit there and outline, this is what it's going to do. This is what I expect from it. And everything else I already know it can't do, or I'm expected to do it, or someone else on my team is expected to do it. And like you literally just line it out, dude, this is what it needs to do. This is what I do. This is how we work together.
Yep. And what would even be even cooler is if you could get a CRM that when you go under contract, so it not only holds all of your information, but then it can talk to the title company and it can talk to the lender and it can talk to you, so that you can create a unified system to where it's like, oh, we need this document. Well, it's already in there. You just, you share a one customer profile, and then all of those documents are in there, and then you just create this this like ecosystem to where it's not only a CRM, but it also houses all your documents and stuff too. Or you could just easily upload and it would just shoot out rather than trying to, I don't know. There's ways to make a more cohesive ecosystem. So.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's kind of like what Google Drive did. They started out with Gmail, and
Mm-hmm.
then they were like, well, wait a second, people like really, really like Microsoft Office, so why don't we replicate that? And then they smashed it all together, and then you can save everything to one account with one login, YouTube too, it's all under one thing, and you have access to everything from anywhere, and I mean, hell, you can even just log onto your browser, and that
Right.
access your
And it's
drive.
already there.
Really,
Yeah.
really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft focused on Microsoft or Internet Explorer, and Apple focused on Safari. But ultimately, who's winning? Google Chrome. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because they focused on like, oh, we can just cater to everyone by being flexible, and we can work on any system because we'll just systemize the browser instead.
Right.
So like it's just like that different type of thinking that's going to pretty much make you future proof.
Right. And that's, it's like that's the downfall to companies that weren't thinking about how, adapting, like look what happened to Kodak. They didn't think digital was going to be a thing, and now Kodak's dead, because you're like, oh, no, people will always want to print, it's like, oh, yeah, well, people always wanted to put their music on records too, right?
Shit, we had CDs, we had the Discman, the Walkman, right?
Dude, I had freaking, I'm not going to even say it. It's going to date me. But I had an 8-track in my house when I was little.
Dude, I don't even know what that looks like.
So you remember VHSs, right? You saw those.
Yeah, yeah.
So imagine your music is on a VHS and you stick it in a thing, and then you would hit this button. It would, just like a CD player, you click through, how you click through the songs. You could click through 8 songs on an 8-track.
Hence the name. Makes sense.
Hence the name, yeah. Then you only got 8 songs, man. And they had 4 tracks, they had 8 tracks. Yeah, they used to have cars that had this big old box like slot in the middle of the dash, and you just like and you're like,
you gotta bring the whole U-Haul box, put it in your car.
Oh yeah.
Gather your
Well, remember the NES cartridges?
I remember you always had to blow in them to make sure it worked.
Yeah, so imagine that in the middle of your car, dude. Like, trying to get your music to play, dude. Yeah, it was rough. It was brutal. So, Which is still funny because they still make like cars today still have CD players in them, which is weird.
I mean, I listen to CDs.
Well,
I guess.
I'm waiting for this. You can stream Spotify in your car, then it'll be golden.
Yeah, there you go.
Or you just Bluetooth in and just do it that way too. But
Yeah.
I don't even know if my CD player in my car works. I don't think I've ever put anything in there. I think my
Well, I know
kids
is
kind of
mine eats
stick their
CDs.
candy in there, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, Daddy, did this work? Dude, that's not where you put your candy, dude. Like,
Oh,
well, I don't know. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Yeah, whatever. Go back to bed.
yeah, right.
So, but yeah, so yeah, I guess you know, it really kind of comes down to if you're working a CRM system, you know, obviously you want to find the one that works. You know, I mean, there's tons of different ones out there. But at the end of the day, like you want to try to, you know, figure out if the leads can be all loaded into one system.
Yeah.
You know, and have that ability to, you know, if there's a different lead system that's coming out or whatever, you want to be able to, you know, drive the bus home to that so that they all come into one. So
Well, the biggest way around that is so there's this company called Zapier, and it's like the way I explain it to anyone is it's like the duct tape between software. It just
Mhm.
allows software to communicate even if they don't natively communicate. So like one of the biggest things, one of the best things you can do for your business if you're going to actually implement one of these systems, and you want to focus on flexibility, is make sure that can actually connect to Zapier. Because if you
Sure.
connect to Zapier, you know, you're going to be SOL for a lot of the cool things that come out or like things you want to try because you'll be locked into a system. Like Boomtown, I mean, not to like, you know, pick on people, but like they don't play nice with anyone. They try to keep everything within them themselves, but the problem happens when, you know, you want to be able to voicemail drop, but Boomtown won't let you. So now you have to just like forget it or say, oh, I don't know, I guess I'll just buy more systems, right? So like one of the main things you can do for that is just make sure you can get Zapier connected.
Right. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, and then that way you can do if you do this, do that, and then it just does it for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember when I first learned about Zapier, I was like kind of confused by it. But like, dude, the best way to learn it, honestly, is to go in, select your app, the trigger. It's called a trigger. So if this being the trigger happens, then that happens. Then you create the action. Just go in there and play with it. You know, connect it to your CRM and connect it with Google Calendar and see what you can do. You know.
Right. Yeah, I think it's paramount to being top of mind with your clients. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. I mean, to give you access to every channel.
right. So yeah, and I mean, if you can get all of your different systems that you're working on, Gmail, your CRM, your, you know, your timelines with your contracts and all that stuff can all talk to each other, then that's like the ultimate setup.
Right. And you just think about like the journey. Like, so there's going to be the front end where you generate them, then the middle where you're nurturing them, and then the back end, the actual doing business. And, you know, wouldn't it be ideal if your system could handle all of that? Well, yeah,
Right.
but you know, you don't want to hire a jack of all trades because they're not the best in one thing. So if you just kind of break it down in the lead life cycle, like, okay, for lead gen, I'm going to be doing Facebook lead ads. I'm going to be hitting them with bomb video emails, and I want to make sure I'm texting and voicemail dropping as well. Like that's your front end. Then just go and figure out how you can put it together. And then once you have that figured out and you kind of learn the ropes and you figured it out and you can then start adding people to your business pipeline, see how you can automate that too, and just play with stuff, you know, see what talks with one another.
Right. Yeah, and going back to the Google systems, I mean, a lot of that stuff already talks to each other. So just adding a one extra layer of connectivity would just bring it to the next level for sure.
Yeah, man, it's all about connections, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
And going back to simplicity, we're talking about all this stuff and like making it work to one another, but like the thing is, you don't need to be a coder or anything close to that, because we've come so far where this stuff is actually really simple to do. And most of the time, if you do it right, you set it up properly, you're only working out of one system anyway once you have everything set up. You
I
know,
agree.
when we had our first system together, you only worked out of Follow Up Boss, even though you had others working for you.
Right.
But we just figured out a way to make it so Follow Up Boss can be the basically commander in chief of all the systems and say, hey, when this happens, you do this. And that's because we have the department head of Zapier to make sure it happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's it just really comes down to, a lot of people are like, oh, I use like Top Producer and all this stuff. Well, dude, like all these systems are really, really antiquated,
Yeah.
like, and they're just not as robust. And there's a whole nother, world out there in terms of follow up and how to make sure that you're, like I was just listening to a video this morning about speed to lead. Like
Yeah.
literally, like you have 5 minutes on the
Mhm.
max before you have a 100% chance of not getting a hold of those customers.
Dude, it's like if you can get them within the first 5 minutes, 300% more, 360% more likely to convert that person.
Yeah,
But
I
like, how do
agree.
you as an agent do that yourself when you're actually busy? If you're
Right.
like showing homes or you're, in a closing and a lead comes in, and like leads aren't cheap, and that's a potential opportunity that someone else could steal. So how do you do it? And that's where you just have to be smart and think about, okay, well, if I were to actually have the time to follow up with this person properly, this is how I would do it, and then translate that into software. And like seriously, it's like a Google search.
Right. Yeah. And the thing too is like, and that's just the way things are going. Like, I think what's going to end up happening at some point in the future is that, pretty much 99.9% of all lead follow up is going to be automated. And then it's going to be the realtor's job to then translate that uh, warm lead
Yeah.
into a transaction.
Well,
You know?
IBM Watson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, by 2020, IBM is estimating that 85% of all their business to consumer interactions will be handled by AI through and through, never touch a human.
Wow.
And that's like literally in 2 years, I mean, a year and a half. So
That's
like the
crazy.
people who are sitting there like, oh, AI is in the future, like I can't wait for it. It's like you're kind of delusional because AI is here. It's being rolled out everywhere. Siri's AI, Google Assistant's AI, your Amazon Echo or Dot is AI. Um, and I mean, soon enough, you're going to have AI in your car.
Right.
It's literally it's bound to happen.
Right.
So
Well, and the thing too is like and the thing is like if you're not an early adopter, you lose.
yeah,
You
right. And
know.
it's like it's kind of like Bitcoin, right? Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to become the early adopters to win. Otherwise, you're just
Like
kind
buying
of riding
Google
the
stock. Like
golden
how many
path.
times did I was like when I remember when Google stock was $96 a share,
Yeah.
and then now I would have been retired and bought my own island by now. But missed that boat. So here's the next boat. Like, dude, it's right here. Who's gonna do it?
Yeah.
It's floating right there. So,
Yeah,
well,
dude.
how can we get a hold of you, man?
Yeah, so right now just Facebook message me. So I'm working on my email, my name, my company name. So you can contact me. It's a pain in the ass to say and spell, but it's chris@insynq.com. So that's spelled INSYNQK. I was trying to get like, all cutesy with the tech world and spell it all sorts of funky, but it's just a pain in the ass in the end. So that'll be changing. But right now, yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. And I mean, like, I've been building these systems for a while now, so I actually love custom builds. I do have a blueprint that I prefer to follow, and it's rock solid. But I'm one of the few people that actually loves to learn this stuff, so I'm always going out there and figuring out, how can we integrate different things to make your life easier as an agent.
Sweet, dude. Well, that's good. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can just, mine's really simple. james.fluellen@gmail.com. I'm sure there's going to be some information in the notes underneath this video. Chris has got that handled. And then if you want to just call me directly or send me a text, 307-772-1184. And I'll shoot you an email and we can do a free 30-minute coaching call if you guys want to do something like that. You can just sign up on my calendar and we can do that. That would be pretty cool, I think. And and if you can't find any of that, you can just Google me, JP Fluellen. I'm everywhere. So you have no excuses to reach out. So if you want to figure out how to next level your business or anything like that, you can go ahead and reach out.
Dude, I can find you on Google Maps. That's how you everywhere. When I first drove to your office, I literally typed into Google Maps JP Fluellen and whatever Story Boulevard, JP Fluellen.
There you go, man. I'm out there. I'm everywhere. You have no excuses. If you want to next level your business, if you want to 10x, then you know, that's how you got to do it. So you got no excuses. So so until next time, guys, thanks for watching. We'll check you on the next one, and keep doing what you do, and yeah, just stay tuned for the next video. We'll check you next time.
All right, see you guys later.